great day. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to stick around for a new video every week. Alright, this is my birth story. As you all know, if you haven't seen my previous video, it was of my gender reveal that we did. We did a at-home gender reveal. The reason being is because we wanted to avoid a lot of things that are currently happening in the universe. As we all know, we wanted to be safe, especially with me being pregnant and everything. I didn't want to take any risk for me and the baby. So we just decided to do that way. We were able to share it with friends and family, which was amazing. Everybody loved it. It was such a shocker. If you haven't seen it, go watch my previous video. So this is my birth story. It's a crazy one. Definitely eventful, definitely unexpected the way that it went. And if you're a mom or going to be a first-time mom, I'm sure some moms may have had similar stories. Or if you're a first-time mom and you're watching this, I don't want to scare you. Please don't get scared. Everybody's situation is different. It's just something that I went through, and not every woman is going to go through this, or not every mom-to-be will go through this. It all started off, I had gestational diabetes during my entire pregnancy. Well, I wouldn't say my entire pregnancy, but for most of my pregnancy, I had gestational diabetes. I got diagnosed at 16 weeks and had to be put on insulin to be able to regulate my blood sugars in the babies. I was on insulin. I was taking it every day. I was checking my blood sugars every day on, I'd say like a semi-strict diet, just trying to eat a little bit better, to keep the baby nice and strong and healthy. I didn't know this, but when you have gestational diabetes, you don't go the full 40 weeks. I was planned to be induced at 39 weeks, which happened. So the day that I was supposed to go in, which was Saturday, July 31st, 2021, that's when I was scheduled to go in. The funny thing is, because I am a first-time mom, I had no idea what I was doing. Through the health provider that I was with my entire pregnancy, they have an app, and I communicated a lot through that app. When it was time for me to get induced, they sent me the instructions, how to get to the hospital, what to expect. So I read the message wrong to begin with. I thought for some reason that I was supposed to go into the hospital at 3 a.m. They had hours of between 3 to 7 a.m. That's what I thought I read, but I guess I was so excited that I read that like completely wrong. It was basically giving me a time frame when they would call me to come into the hospital to start like the process of being induced and all of that. I actually called the hospital around 2 a.m. because again, I thought I had to be there at 3 a.m. I called them, and the lady that I spoke with, she said, "No, honey." She was like, no. She said, "Go back to sleep." She was like, "We will call you when there's a bed available. That's just a time frame that we may call you." So they didn't end up calling me until, it was still Saturday, July 31st. So they didn't end up calling me till about 4, I would say about 4 p.m. Of course, we were like super excited. We were getting everything together. We left about 4:30 and we got to the hospital. It was like a little after 5 p.m. My heart was racing the whole entire time. We got to the hospital. It was a little bit of a wait, maybe like 15 minutes. I had to fill out some paperwork. They had to sign me in, to their system and all of that to say that I was there. I had to use the bathroom, of course, Once I was signed in and ready to go, the nurse came and got me. We went to I don't know what that first room is called when you first get to the hospital, whatever that first room is called. We went into the first room. They basically had me put a gown on. They strapped me up to all these monitors. Our first set of nurses, they were really, really nice. They treated us like we were family. They were so funny. They answered all of our questions. Got situated. They put the IVs in, which that was the part that I was really scared of because I don't really like needles, but it actually didn't end up hurting that bad, which is so funny because I thought it was going to be so painful. They put the baby monitor on. for the heartbeat and all of that. And we were pretty much just chilling for quite a bit. I had to tell them all of the units I was taking for my insulin. So I had to give them that information because I was still having to take my insulin until I was like basically gonna have the baby. Not that much later, I want to say the second set of nurses, because the first set of nurses that came in, they were actually getting ready to leave, so they told us like, you won't see us again, but there will be another set of nurses that are going to come in that will actually like start your process and inducing you and things like that. They came in. I did not like these set of nurses. They were a bit rude. One of the nurses was actually sick, and I was like petrified that like I was gonna get sick while I was getting ready to have my baby. Like, because I'm like, if I get sick and pass it to the baby, then what is that? We were complaining because we didn't want to take any chances. I think the nurse at the time could also just tell like that we weren't happy. She wasn't already happy because she gave off that attitude that she didn't want to be there, which who wants to be at work when they're sick? So it must have been one of those things where she had to be there, like, you know. But I was really nervous and didn't want to get sick. Thankfully, I ended up not getting sick, so thank God for that. Then they started the process of softening my cervix. How they do that is they basically take a pill, and it's called a meso pill. It helps to soften your cervix. So they put the pill up in your cervix, and that helps to soften it and to start the process of things. So I had my first dose of the meso pill. That was not fun. They came in, gave me a dose of my insulin. After that, they forgot about me pretty much. I didn't get my second meso pill until the next day, which at that point, they should have been giving it to me, I want to say every 4 or 5 hours. And it was like the next morning, like 9 a.m. is when I saw the doctor, the first doctor that I saw. She came in, she checked me. She said, we're going to give you another meso pill. However, this should have been given to you like yesterday, 4 hours later. But they never came back in and gave me my second meso pill. The doctor was actually confused as to why I didn't get my second dose. Hours went on. I'm getting my meso pill like how I should. Nothing was really happening. They kept monitoring the baby. And at a point in time, a nurse came in and she said, we're going to have to get you to labor and delivery because there's some dips in the baby's heartbeat. So we just want to make sure that she's okay. At that point, I wasn't 100% freaking out just because I was in the best hospital in my city. So I knew that thank God nothing happened, but if something was to happen, there was a NICU team there, a really good NICU team, and that I was safe and in good hands. And that's the reason I picked that hospital, because just to be safe, you can never be too safe. I just wanted to make sure that I picked somewhere where they had a NICU team available if something was to happen. I went to labor and delivery. They came in, checked the baby. She was fine. They kept me on the monitors for a while. Actually, the whole entire time they kept me on monitors. That labor and delivery room, I love that labor and delivery room. That room was huge. Like, I thought I was in some kind of like hotel suite. Not really, because the bed was not comfortable, but it was just nice. It was big. You had the TV, it had cable. You had like this big window. I had this big window to the right of me, like a bathroom to the left, far down the hall. There was like a sink, a built-in sink. It was nice. The nurses were really nice in the labor and delivery room. They were so sweet. They kept coming in, checking on me, making sure everything was okay. They kept coming in the room to check my blood sugars to make sure those were okay. Also making sure that I was like eating and things like that. But once everything was fine, they kept giving me the meso pill. And I got to the point where I dilated 1 centimeter. Dilating 1 centimeter isn't really anything. So I kept taking the meso pill, and if I can remember correctly, you're able to get up to 6. It was 6 or 8, and I can't remember. So I think I was on like my 4th one at that point. I only had dilated 2 centimeters, which is still nothing. Baby Nyla was not ready to come. She was too cozy up in there. She was not trying to drop down. which is funny because the last few weeks of my pregnancy, I thought she was low because it felt like she was low. I mean, I was really big at the end of my pregnancy, and I'll have to insert a picture of that here too. I was huge, okay? I loved my belly so much, and I actually really missed my pregnancy belly because it was just like so round, big and round. And I remember I couldn't wait for like my belly to grow like that. She was not ready to come, guys. Like, she was way up there. And I remember the doctor, like, because you know, the doctor has to come in and check how, you know, far dilated you are. I hated that part. That was the worst part. Like, of everything. I remember her telling me, you're only 2 centimeters. We're going to try to do the balloon to try to break your water. And I was like, okay. When they were trying to break my water, they put me on Pitocin. And that's when, like, you can't eat any kind of solids. Like, it's all liquid. When I first got on Pitocin, them contractions was starting off strong. So I really thought that she was going to, like, come. She still wasn't budging. I was contracting, but it got to a point, you know, they were giving me Pitocin, but then I was starting to fall asleep through my contractions, which they're like, the nurse came in, she's like, are you falling asleep through your contractions? I say, yes. Like, they're like very mild now. Like, after a certain time, they were very mild. At first, I felt, you know, the contractions. A couple hours later, the doctor came in and she was like, you know, we should try to break your water. She's just really snuggled up there. She's really high up and she's cozy. So how they do that is they put like a balloon up through your cervix and fill it up with whatever water. I don't know. They fill it up, come in and like try to pull it out. Listen, I was not cooperating. It was so uncomfortable. I was not having it. The doctor could just tell, and I think that's when she was just like, yeah, we're just gonna have to just let her come. I mean, 39 weeks. I was going into my 40th week. I was 39 weeks in a day, but the following Friday it would have been 40 weeks. I just kind of wish that I had that opportunity to where she could have came on her own, just because, you know, she wasn't ready. So I don't think another week or two even would have like hurt anything. But I guess when you have gestational diabetes, like, the baby just has a chance of being a bigger baby. After she couldn't get the balloon in, she gave me some time to relax, and she just mentioned like her coming back to trying to break my water on her own. It didn't end up happening, I'll tell you that. So she came back in and it's like, are you ready? And I said, ready for what? Because I'm just, at that point, I'm just kind of just like, oh my God, what? I didn't know what was going to happen. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you know, I'm really nervous because when she told me, before she left the room, and told me that she was going to come back to try to break my water on her own, she did tell me, you know, there's a risk. She did tell me there was like a risk of the umbilical cord falling down and, you know, could potentially like choke the baby and all. And I was like, that sounds horrifying. Like, no, I don't want to do that. My gut was telling me no. I feel like that was like my first like mom intuition. I heard it. No, like, we're not doing that. But, you know, she was like, you know, take some time and think about it. And, you know, I'll come back the next morning. So she comes back the next morning and she's like, are you ready? I was like, at that point, I did do a lot of thinking overnight. I wasn't really sleeping just because I was just so nervous at that point, as to like, I just kept thinking like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? I told her, you know what, doc, I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. I don't. I don't want to do that. She was like, you know, it's basically up to you. She was like, I can try to break your water, you know, or you can do a voluntary C-section. I was like kind of indecisive at that point. And I was like, well, you were saying that there was going to be a risk of the umbilical cord. And she was like, well, there's going to be a risk either way, honey, basically. Like, there's going to be a risk in either way. There's going to be a risk with me breaking your water. She was like, or there's going to be a risk with a C-section. C-section is a surgery, you know? So, like, at that point, I'm like, all right, I need to think about that, because A C-section is a big surgery. Like, I've never had surgery before, never in my life. This was the first time that I ever had surgery done. She was like, how about I come back in about 2 hours? I give you some time to think and talk about it with your mom and your boyfriend. And I come back and we'll, see what you decide. I decided to have the C-section because I was just extremely nervous with her telling me about that umbilical cord. Like, that just, like, did something to me. And like I said, I had that intuition. It was just telling me no. After she came back and I told her I wanted to do the voluntary C-section, she said, okay, we'll have to see how surgeons are right now. I'm not really sure like what their status is, because at this time there is a lot of pregnant women. I don't know if you guys know this, but like everybody's pregnant, like, or having babies still. Like, it's been like a baby boom year. Like, last year and this year is just like crazy. But I thought this was gonna be like a couple hours type thing. There was a whole team of them doctors came in that room an hour later and was like ready to go. And I'm just sitting there like, wait, this is really happening. I'm scared. I am so scared. They came in, they put one of those like nets on my head. They like laid my bed down, because if you've seen like a hospital bed, I'll insert another picture of that. Well, I was in the hospital, what the bed looked like, but when you're in the hospital bed, it's propped up, so you're sitting up, a little bit and not like laying flat on your back. No, they pulled that thing down and I was flat on my back. And I was just like laying there and I was looking at the ceiling and I'm like, this is really happening like right now. Like, there's no going back. This is it. They wheeled me on out of there. They gave my boyfriend like one of them like them scrub outfit things or whatever that you go into surgery for, and then one of them hair nets. I didn't cry, but I was really holding it back. I'm like, I got this. Like, I just have to stay strong for me and the baby. Like, I was just praying in my head. I'm like, Lord, please let everything go smoothly. Like, please let my baby be okay. Please let me be okay. Please let us make it out of this surgery. Okay. We go into the operating room. That room, I have never been so cold. It was just like when they open those doors, it's like just like you're walking through like Antarctica. Like, that's how cold it is in there to me at that time. I was freezing. Then they have me get on this table, the operating table. This table is literally like both of my arms like this put together. And I'm not a little girl, like, especially like I said, at the end of my pregnancy, I was huge, like, and they had me sitting on this little table. And the doctor says, okay, she said, sit on the table and let both of your feet hang off the side. So I was sitting on it kind of like like if I was sitting on a horse. So both of my legs hanging off the side. And then she says, fold your legs like a pretzel and take this pillow. I had to put the pillow in front of me, in front of my belly, and lean forward. Okay. So I did all of that. All right. But I was so uncomfortable, like so uncomfortable. So, but I was like trying to suck it up. I'm like, we just got to get through this so they can do what they have to do. When I was sitting on the table, and I leaned forward so they can, be able to visualize your spine and everything so that they can put the anesthesia up your spine. They're attempting to put the anesthesia up my spine and was having a very hard time doing so because I was not cooperating at all. Like, that was painful. I would say it was about a 6 or a 7, which is still uncomfortable to me because, like, if you ever had to go through a C-section or not, like, getting something poked in your back like that is not comfortable. Like, I don't know what it looks like, what it is, but that was not comfortable, like, at all. The doctors were so supportive. They were being so nice to me, like, and it got to a point where it took them like 20 minutes for them to get the anesthesia up my back because I was just like not having it at all. The baby thankfully was fine during that process of it. During that time, I started crying because, I didn't like that feeling. And the doctor, was holding my hand. She's like, it's okay. Like, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. or whatever, and they finally got it, and the doctor was like, your legs are gonna go numb, so once you feel that, lay back for me, which happened like immediately after they put it in, basically. So I laid back, and they put the curtains up, and from there I didn't see nothing, I didn't feel nothing. Like, I was just laying there. I was laying there with my arms out to the side. They had to put an oxygen mask on me, just to make sure I was breathing okay. When they gave me the anesthesia, the doctor said, if you get nauseous, let me know, and I'll bring a bucket over. I guess that's like one of the side effects. I got nauseous, and they brought a bucket over for me. I was like trying to like throw up, but nothing was coming up because, again, I was on Pitocin before that, and I had a liquid diet, so there was no solids on my stomach. I wasn't throwing anything up. Maybe 10 minutes later, my baby was born. My baby was born. So they brought her out. I could hear them doing the little suction thing out of her mouth and her nose. I will never forget that first cry that I heard. My heart, like, I immediately started crying because I always wanted to know what she was gonna like sound like, what her cry was gonna sound like. It was the most beautifulest thing I've ever heard. And like, even to this day, I sometimes, like, she'll just be having a fit, and of course, like, I'll try to soothe her and stuff, but like, I'm just like, I don't care if you cry. I love your cry. Like, she is just so sweet. She's the sweetest baby ever. She is my best friend. Like, I love that baby so much. Like, and it's so crazy because I never knew that I wanted to be a mom. Like, and like, it's just so crazy how a baby can just change your thinking of things and just like your life, like everything. Like, she is a beautiful girl, and I would do it all over again. I really would. The whole entire process, I would do everything all over again. It is the most beautifulest moment that you'll ever experience. That moment when they're born is the best moment ever in life. Like, I don't care what anybody says, seeing your own child born is everything. Like, and I can't explain the feeling, but when you experience that, you're gonna be like, wow. But I never knew that I wanted to be a mom until I had my baby girl. Like, and I want more. I do want more. Like, I want baby Nyla to have siblings. I want her to grow up with a big family. I've always wanted like a huge family of my own. Like, I've always wanted that. Something about having like just like that big family, and having everybody close and having your siblings and things like that. I really wanted that for myself. So baby Nyla's gonna have some siblings. After I had Nyla, we just kind of hung out in the postpartum room. Because I had gestational diabetes, Nyla did not stay with us very long. She did have to end up going to the NICU. I was shattered. I was very shattered because I was seeing all of these other parents being able to spend time with their baby, and it was heartbreaking for me because I wanted Nyla to be in the room with me just like everyone else was able to have their baby in the room with them. I only got to spend a few hours with mine because it wasn't anything horrible. It was just her blood sugars were low, and they had to get them spiked back up because when Nyla was in my belly, she was dependent off of me. So when they're born, they have to create their sugars on their own. Because her blood sugars were so low, she had to go down to the NICU. So like I was saying before, this was why I was happy that I chose the hospital that I did, because you never know what can happen. You don't know what's going to happen. You're not the expert. You're just not. And this is one tip that I will say, is that whatever hospital you choose, make sure you have a great hospital. Make sure you have a great team. of nurses and doctors, because when it comes to that baby, nothing matters at that time but that baby. These are things that you truly have to think about. That's why I chose the hospital that I did. Nyla was a healthy baby girl. She was 9 pounds when she came out. She was a big girl. But it was so funny because, like, she wasn't like chubby like I thought she was gonna be. Every time I would go get an ultrasound done, they kept saying, "Oh, she's gonna be a big one," things like that. But I'm like, she's not like body size. She's not big. She came out healthy as can be. It was just her blood sugars, but it was just, not being able to be with my baby like I wanted to be with my baby and be able to bond with my baby. And because I had a C-section, we were in the hospital for 6 days. And that was a combination of me recovering and Nyla being in the NICU for the amount of time she had to be in the NICU for. It was really also hard for me because after having a C-section, my recovery was rough. And like I said, I've never had a C-section before. So it was really hard for me to go to the bathroom on my own. It was hard for me to get up on my own. It was hard for me to bathe myself. It was hard for me to do a lot of things. It was really hard for me to do a lot of things. And I was crushed because it was also hard for me to go down to the NICU to see my baby. That's the part that hurt the most, is not being able to be with my baby the way I wanted to be with my baby and bond with my baby. We went down to the NICU every day. It was rough for me because when you have surgery, they put you on pain meds, and I'm not going to mention the pain meds that I was on just because I'm not comfortable with mentioning them. But I didn't have a choice, because in order for me to not be in pain and to try and move around as much as I could, I had to take them on top of Motrin and on top of Tylenol. It was a lot mentally and emotionally, but I was recovering. I was getting strong every day. The NICU nurses would come up because they knew that I had a C-section. They would come up and check on me. Sorry guys. I didn't know I was gonna cry like this. It's been a while since I've talked about this. So it's really rough to talk about. As she was in the NICU nurses would come and check on me and let me know that she's doing great. She was doing great every day. Every day she would get better. Sorry guys, I had to pull myself together. NICU nurses would come and they would let me know that she's doing fine. She's doing better every day. That they just had to keep her, a little longer just to make sure she was good and make sure that she can go home with us. That was the most important part, of course. So the days went on, kept going down to see her. I would get so excited because I would wake up, of course I had to eat and stuff, because I don't know if anybody else had experienced this. After I had Nyla, my blood sugars dropped really low for some reason, in the 40s. And normally you're supposed to wait until you could feel your toes and things like that, which I did have to wait. But it got to the point where they're like, if you could at least wiggle your toes, we have to give you something because your blood sugar is extremely way too low. And she was like, do you feel like your blood sugar is low? And I said, yeah, I do. I feel kind of woozy, So she was like, we got to get you something ASAP. Still can't be solids, but I'll give you Italian ice. They gave me Italian ice. They gave me ginger ale, just kind of liquidy stuff at first. And then they gave me graham crackers, her crackers with peanut butter, just to make sure I was able to eat and things like that, and to also let them know if I was gonna get nauseous or anything, let them know. But I was fine. I was just hungry. So everything they was bringing me, I was eating. They tested my blood sugars again, and it ended up being in the 80s. So I was fine at that point. She ended up being fine. Every day I would go down to see her. I was able to hold her. I was able to we're trying to breastfeed. I had to supplement because You know, she wasn't in the room with me, but it was just, it felt like it was just never ending. Like, after I had her, I felt like we were never going to come home. Like, even when it was time to come home, they're like, oh, you have to call physician office to schedule her first appointment. We have to be notified, you know, we have to know that you scheduled the appointment, things like that. I'm just like, oh my God, dude. Like, I just want to take my baby home so I can spend time with her. Like, so we were just trying to do everything possible to be able to get out of there. After I had Nyla, I had like the best nurses ever. They kept coming in and checking on me, things like that. They made me feel like I was at home. Like, you know, at that point, I didn't have any rude nurses or anything like that. They were all really nice, especially my last nurse. I really liked her a lot. She was the best. Like, she was so nice. She was so cheery. There was a point where I was crying about Nyla. She told me, she was like, it's okay to cry. Like, I understand, you know. And I was feeling sick because I wanted to go down and see Nyla, but I was feeling like kind of like weird, like lightheaded, like woozy, like kind of like nauseous, like very nauseous. And I don't know if it was from the medication, but it was from something. And she said, you don't have to be afraid to cry. Like, you can cry. I understand. Let me get you some ice packs. I'm going to put ice packs on the back of your neck and on your head. And I might, you know, make you feel better. And she said, I know you want to go down and see Nyla, but she was like, I think it might be best if you just lay it down, because I was ready to go. Like, I was in the wheelchair, everything. She was like, you gotta lay down. you gotta lay down, okay? We want to make sure she was, you know, baby Nyla's okay. She said, we got to make sure you're okay too. After, like, I would say after like a few hours, I called down to the NICU. I was able to hear like what they were saying, and she was fine. She's doing great. You know, they told me when she last ate, things like that. I was very happy about that. But when I was actually able to get up and move and stuff, I flew down to that NICU. When I got down there, I was just so happy to see her. It's just the best feeling, just being with your baby. It just sucks when you have them and they take her away from you just so fast. It's like, but I just had her. Like, I want to spend time with her. The following Thursday is when we got to come home. I would do it all over again, guys. I really would. Again, it was the best feeling in the world. It was, even though it was a crazy experience, it was still all worth it, and I would so do it all over again if I had to. If you like this video, make sure that you like and make sure that you subscribe so you can stick around for new content every single week. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.